In this part 1 will tell you about natural devices from the botany fashion. Let's go. The first item in the queue is an hourglass. An hourglass is needed in order to lower the restun signal, that is, they can act like a timer. There are 4 types of items placed in the hourglass. These are ordinary sand, red sand, shower sand and mana powder. You can place objects in the watch using the right mouse button, holding them in your hands. To get them, hold Shift plus with the right mouse button. Up to 64 items can be loaded into the watch as much as possible, but there are nuances here. For example, 1 unit of loaded sand is 1 second of delay, 1 unit of red sand is 10 seconds of delay, and sand showers, respectively, 1 minute. That is, you can adjust the delay in our timer. Now I have placed 4 sand and we will have a rest-in signal in 4 seconds. If suddenly you accidentally forgot how much sand you placed, take the hourglass staff of the forest and aim at them. It will show you how much sand is loaded and what delay is set. Note that the watch interacts with objects, that is, for example, you can add sand using the same funnel, increasing the amount of sand inside the watch. You can also lock the hourglass so that someone doesn't accidentally take the sand out of it. We clamp the shiv on the right with the mouse button with the staff of the forest in our hands, and the clock is locked. Now I have clamped the shift plus the right mouse button and I can't get the sand. Exactly the same as placing it. You can also remove the lock using the staff of the forest by holding down the shift plus the right mouse button. More interesting mechanics with mana powder. I am currently loading 4 units of mana powder into our hourglass. And it will not just fall down, it will fall down only under one condition: if the clock gets a mana beam. 1 mana shot means that you will drop 1 unit of mana powder. That is, so you can count how many mana pulses hit your watch for a certain time. And here is the recipe for our watches. You will need 4 gold bars, the doors of the Stanovsky dust, 2 Mona glass and a monostal ingot. And we move on to the next subject. The next interesting item is a lively torch. That's her recipe. You will need mana powder and a regular X-ray torch. An interesting feature of this torch is that it is not placed the way we are used to. It is placed horizontally. Let's put it up and see how it works. In the direction where this peak looks, we will have a redstone signal descending. I'll build a track like this. Also, let me build 3 additional tracks. If you click Shift plus with the right mouse button, you will change the position of this torch. It will move clockwise. But that's not all this torch can do. If you take the staff of the forest, then you will find that the torch has several modes. It's a switch, a turn and random or whatever. The new modes won't work if you switch them with your hand. They will switch exactly the same clockwise as before. And these modes are needed in order to switch your torch with a mana beam. We take the staff of the forest and change the mode from the rotation that we originally had clockwise to switching, respectively. The restun signal will be switched from this side to this one right away. The spread of the Tellman has already brought our torch and I just pushed the lever. And he successfully changed sides. We changed the mode to random and I myself wonder how it works. I haven't fully figured it out. So, now it has worked as a twist. Now the same side has turned back on. Her mechanics are interesting. Actually, that's how it works. And we're moving on, friends. The next item is the Eye of the Ancients and this is the recipe for this item. You will need 4 ingots of monostal, for stone lives and the Eye of Ender. And for the Eye of the Ancients to work, you will need a restun comparator. If there are animals nearby, it will emit a signal of a certain strength. The book says that it works from 2 animals, that is, if you have 2 animals, the boot and the trigger signal is 1, if 3, 2, respectively, and so on. Please note that our piston is now on. Right now I'm killing animals nearby to reduce the signal. What? Ah, there came those animals, respectively, reactivated the piston. And we go to the next subject. And the next interesting item is an open box. This is what an open box looks like and this is his recipe. You will need planks and tree life. This box throws out items that come into it for themselves. But this box can't just be opened in the usual way, you won't succeed. Items can be delivered to it using other mechanisms, truss or funnels, for example. And right now I'm going to put something in it and it will fall out from below. If a stone signal is given to an open box, then it will not throw out the objects that come into it. For example, now I will remove this torch and it will start throwing them out again. There is also a moment in the book that is incomprehensible to me. When a signal is given to the table, any objects that have fallen out of the box will not be picked up with colors like Verotcaron, Carpus or Podziak. When the rest-in signal is applied, nothing will fall out of it at all. And we have the next subject. The new item is called the abstruse platform and that's how it is being crafted. You will need 2 tree lives, 3 of them trees and 1 mana pearl. The abstruse platform will not feel like an obstacle for you if you enter from its edges. So I even went through it, but the upper edge will be material for you, that is, you can make ladders like this, but if you pinch the shift, you will simply fail. You can also change the texture of the abstruse platform. We take any block, for example, I have a stone and right-click on the abstruse platform, and it took its texture. Also, if you take the staff of the forest and right-click on this abstruse platform with a texture, all the abstruse platforms associated with it will accept this texture. By holding down the Shift plus the right mouse button and clicking on some abstruse platform with a texture, you will remove it. It's much more convenient than painting everything by hand. And we're moving on. Also, the mana beam can pass through the blocks of the abstruse platform. I fired and it went right through. The objects that you throw away have the same properties as you, that is, they pass through the side faces, but can fall on the upper face. Also, animals inside the platform area can't seem to get out of it, but they can accidentally push each other out and thereby escape. That is, it is an unreliable barrier. Spectral platform. And here's her recipe. You will need 2 dreamwoods, 1 fairy pollen, 2 framed dreamwoods and 1 carved dreamwoods. The spectral platform is very similar to the abstruse one, only it is not material from all sides, that is, it will not work to jump on it. In the same way, you can put textures on it, paint it and remove them. We're moving on. Next, we will look at 2 interesting sections. These are mono-witchcraft and monochemistry. And these 2 sections are related to catalysts, witchcraft and alchemical, respectively. Actually, how do these catalysts work? You know how pool crafts work. You just take some object to throw it away. And then you install a catalyst under the pool as well. In our case, it will be forever filled with creative ones, but I will show you the main thing how it all works. The witchcraft catalyst, respectively, will allow you to double some items for mana. The most useful is coal, light dust, nether quartz, red dust. Well, maybe doubling the soul sand will come in handy for someone else. Here is the crafting of an alchemical catalyst. You will need 2 brew potions, 2 gold bars, 1 mana pearl and 4 stone lives. And that's how the witchcraft is being crafted. For stone lives, 3 elemental ingots, 1 fairy pollen and an alchemical catalyst. The alchemical catalyst simply exchanges one resource for another. There are a lot of recipes here. I recommend that you just look for yourself if you have the opportunity, because there is no point in listing them all. The next useful thing is the mana pylon. And here is the recipe for the mana pylon. 2 gold bars, 2 MO bars on steel and 1 mon diamond. Actually, mana pylons act on the principle of book floors, which enhance our enchantment table or enchantment table. That is, 1 gives us 16 levels of enchantment, and 2 will be enough for us to enchant our subject up to the 30th level. He doesn't do anything else. And we're moving on. Next we will look at the drums. The first in line is the drum of destruction of foliage. And here is the drum recipe. To create it, you will need 6 units of tree life, 2 skins and 1 horn of foliage destruction. If a mono beam hits the drum, it will destroy the nearest foliage. The mana beam can be fed not only from the mana distribution, for example with the help of a dash blade. The next drum is the collection drum. Here is such a recipe for this drum. You will need 6 dream woods, 2 skins and 1 ingot of elementium. This drum, upon receipt of the monopuch, should cut all the sheep and, in theory, fill empty buckets with milk if there are cows nearby. The pole was removed from the sheep, but for some reason the buckets were not filled with milk. Tell me, please, if I did something wrong. I'm very interested myself. And the next drum is called the wildlife drum. And this drum is crafted from 6 units of tree life, 2 leather and 1 wild nature horn. This drum will break the vegetation around us if it is hit with a mono beam, which we will do now with the help of a tyro blade. So, the plant broke down and another control. That's the way things are, and all this can be picked up. Next, we will consider a monostorm charge. Here is such a recipe, very expensive, because the spirit of the traffic police, for dynamites and 4 tree lives are used. In fact, this is a bomb. In order to activate it, you need to apply a mana splash to it. I use tire iron. Oh, yes, I thought I broke it, and now we have such a reaction. It will be a series of explosions and such bursts that, when hit, will destroy everything around us. And this is the kind of crater that awaits you if you blow it up at home. So be careful. The next interesting thing is the desecrated pumpkin, and that's what she looks like. And this is the recipe for this pumpkin. You will need bone, thread, rotten flesh, gunpowder. Ordinary pumpkins you will get defiled. The desecrated pumpkin is needed in order to summon an ifrit. We put 2 iron rods in the following way and a pumpkin on top and we get an ifrit, from which, when killed, not a freet rod will fall out, but a large amount of fire powder at once. I even wonder how much. 10 units of fire powder will fall out when he is killed. In some cases, this can help you out if you need to find an ifrit urgently. The next interesting thing is the cocoon of life, and that's how he crafts. In addition to the threads, you will need a desecrated pumpkin and a monostal ingot. According to the book, you can get farm animals, wolves, horses from it, if you give an emerald, perhaps a resident. It worked. Now I'm using one cheat command, which may allow us to speed up the process of the appearance of mobs from this cocoon. And we got a rabbit, even though we spent an emerald. Next we have spectral rails. And that's how they craft. You will need conventional rails and spectral platforms. These rails will allow your trolleys to pass through obstacles. So I went. And we succeeded. Also, this is not all that rails can do. In fact, your trolley will somehow jump over obstacles and even do something like that. The next unusual item is Terra Terra Bosu, and that's how it's done. You need 2 mana fabrics and a sunflower. Terra Terra Bodzu reduces the duration of rain or snow. Also, this thing can turn off the rain. Let's check it out now. And actually, I prescribed a command to cause rain. I give him a sunflower and in theory the rain should disappear now. Gone. As soon as the rain appears, it becomes sad. It can also be automated. You don't have to click on it with a sunflower, you can just throw the sunflower next to it and now it should absorb it. Ah, absorbed. Even too greedy. The next interesting item is a totem from the life of a tree. Here is such a recipe for this totem. You will need a tree life and a mana diamond. Actually, this totem can use a gesture, which I will tell you about in the next video, and let's see what it will do with it. Even with the wand, the totem will not do anything. You will need mana for it to work, which we will do now. Pay attention, now he has called a block of earth with the help of this rod here. This is the principle by which this TT works. The next useful thing is a botanical cooking rack. With its help, you can brew a reusable potion, which is very convenient in certain situations. The recipe for this rack is as follows. You will need 6 stone lives, 1 block of monostal, a mana rune and a regular vanilla cooking potion. This device requires mana, so provide it with mana from mana distributors. After you have made this cooking rack, you need to make a container. You can have either a bottle of monostal, or a flask of elfin glass, which is more expensive. The bubble is made as follows: 3 pieces of mana glass and you will get 3 bubbles just right. And the flask is made of 3 elven glasses, respectively, and you will get 3 flasks. Actually, what can you cook? At that speed, you will be superimposed with buff speed 2 infusion of strength, force with effect 2, infusion of acceleration rush of level 2 infusion of instant healing of the second level, infusion of bounciness 2, respectively. You can also weld 2 types. restoration. The first one will give you regeneration of the second level, but short term, and the second one will give a long, but weaker, first level. Next, you can brew an infusion of second level damage resistance, an infusion of fire resistance, an infusion of underwater breathing, invisibility, night vision, absorption, and everything like that. You can also make a complex brew. This is a potion that has several effects, for example, an infusion of divine power. You will be superimposed with the strength of level 4, the speed of the third, but in return you will be superimposed with the weakness of the second level and the hunger of the third. An infusion of vampirism that will return HP to you when killing some creatures. Infusion of fall protection, you will become immune to falling. Infusion of vanity of emptiness, which will cancel spawn mobs odious 128 blocks from you. An infusion of crimson shadow, which will allow you to spawn an aggressive mob regardless of the lighting. 64 blocks away from you. An infusion of sea charm, which will improve your fishing skills, or an infusion of absolution, which will remove all the negative effects of the potion from you, because others are different. You can also create not only a brew, but also apply the effects of these potions on incense sticks and pendants. The pendants will apply the effect of these potions constantly, but using mana. And I'll tell you about the incense sticks a little later. Let's make an absorption bubble. So, let's craft something. Take our flask or bubble, click on the center of our cooking rack. We have it fit here. Next, we take the ingredients and just click on the center again. We will have a hell of a growth, it fits here, potatoes and, accordingly, a golden apple. And we have already started crafting. Please note that the mana distributor started shooting at the cooking rack and as a result we get a potion like this. Please note that next to the name of the potions that are in the bubbles and flasks there is a number in parentheses. A 4 means that you can use this vial 4 times before the potion disappears, and 6 times in the flask, respectively. But we'll be back to the counter soon, because I'm going to tell you about the incense sticks now. And now I'll tell you about the aromatic stove and incense sticks. And now we are lighting it and we have such an effect. With the help of incense sticks, you can impose certain effects on yourself. The type of incense stick effect is very similar to those we have seen in potions. First you have to create an aromatic stove. You will need a tree life and 2 slabs of tree life. Then you will need to create an incense stick. Simple, uncharged. It is crafted from the life branch of the tree, fire powder and tears of gas. While we install the aromatic stove, the charging of incense sticks takes place on the same principle as we created the potion. We laid out a stick, then the ingredients and you started crafting. Oh, it worked. Next, we take our incense stick and click it on the aromatic plate. The wand has been installed. Now we take a flint or a lighter and right-click. And now the effect of this wand will be superimposed on us. I hasten to please you that this incense stick will disappear sooner or later, it will simply burn. And the next interesting item is an assembly box. Here is such a recipe for an assembly box. You will need 6 boards made of wood of dreams and 1 workbench. You will also need a collector placeholder for it. They are very easy to craft. You will need 1 stone and 1 workbench and you will get 32 things like this. So, now is the most important thing. I'll explain how to craft items. To craft, for example, a diamond pickaxe, you must throw objects sequentially, not throw more precisely, but load using other mechanisms, for example, funnels. Throw out the diamond first, it will get here, the second diamond will get here, the third one here. Here we will have an empty space, so we have to throw a placeholder to the collector. Here we will have a stick, here, respectively. We will also have a collector's placeholder, as an empty space, then again a collector's placeholder, then we have a stick and again a collector's placeholder, and at the output we will get a diamond pickaxe. Now I'm going to make a pressure plate. To create it, you will need a connected funnel to this assembly box. Okay, she's hooked up. Next, we will need actually 2 boards and 7 filler pickers. Conventionally, the boards will be placed here and here, everything else here is this space will be filled with placeholders of the collector. So, we throw them away. 1, 2 and just throw out 7 pieces of the collector's placeholder. And in theory. What? It worked. This is the principle by which objects are made in it. Also, to save placeholders for collectors, you can make templates like this. They are done as follows. For example, this one, you see, is a small dot in the center. That is, accordingly, all other slots are used, except for the central one. For example, throwing a cobblestone, we get a stove. Or this template. That is, only this slot here will work conditionally, all the others will not be used. Let's take this template here and just click it on our assembly box. And he has now received such a red color. And accordingly, this point shows that it is not working for us. That is, if I throw out 8 boulders now, we will get a stove with you at the exit. Right? The stove turned out. Let's change one template to another, respectively, only this slot will work for us. And if, for example, I throw out 1 board now, we will have a button on the exit. So. Oh, the button is out. I hope you have figured it out, and that's it with this subject. There are a lot of crafting templates, so you can choose the right one for you. And the most interesting thing that's left is friends, casting a spell with mana. Accordingly, we will build such a multi-block structure, and with it we will be able to enchant objects without consuming books. Click on the visualize button and we will have such a model here. Accordingly, we need to dig a little deeper into the ground and place it like this. And to create this structure, you will need 17 blocks of obsidian, 6 mana pylons, 10 absolutely any colors from the Botany mod. It is advisable to use the usual one that is in the world or their glowing version. It's cheap, and our structure is complete. We take the staff of the forest and click on the lazurite block and it turns into such a Manozakharova tel. If lapis lazuli has changed, then you have succeeded. Let's try to enchant our stone sword. We click them on the man charmer and it fits. Next, you need to scatter books nearby. We will have life stealing 2 and giving 2. By clicking on the man charmer with the staff of the forest, you activate the process. Friends, the process is very slow. I'll probably redo the design and supply mana with sparks. That's it, now mana is transmitted by sparks and probably the process will go faster. Wow. And we did something. Let's take our sword and see what's on it. Now it is stealing the second level of life and giving the second. Unfortunately, friends, you will not be able to enchant already enchanted items. I have all my friends on this, subscribe.